So, so is it my turn, Cassis?
Yes, it is.
Thank you very much. So, good evening once again. Can you see my screen?
Yes, we do.
Thank you very much. So, today is the second lesson, and the portions which we are going to cover briefly today will be these two very important and very existential portions. The second chapter is entitled as Christianity during the Aksumite Empire, and we would like to cover at least 2 points. The first one will, I think it's good and it's very important and helpful for us to see the general situation of the Aksumite civilization, the Aksumite Empire, as an overview. So I will devote a few minutes of our lesson on discussing major points on the Aksumite civilization, Aksumite Empire. That's the first part. The second part will be on the life and contributions of Abba Salama from Mencius. That's a very important part of our lesson. To begin with, Aksumite civilization, as you all know, Ethiopian civilization reached its climax during Aksumite era, we all know. According to some modern historiography based on archaeological excavations, Aksumite era has many layers, okay, many layers, one after the other, and it covers vast span of Ethiopian history. So Aksumite era is vast as compared with others. It has, we can divide into 3 stages or 3 parts, right? The pre-Aksumite era, the Aksumite time, and the post-Aksumite time. The pre-Aksumite time, according to some historiographers, this pre-Aksumite time will be preceded by the proto-Aksumite time, then pre-Aksumite time. But I just, for the sake of our better understanding, it's better to just see all that parts and the jargons in one very generic term called pre-Aksumite time, which begins according to, you know, it depends according to every historiographer. So I just took the average. So from 7th BC until the 1st BC, even before, so that's called the first 7th century until the 1st century BC. That's the we call it the pre-Aksumite time. Aksumite time is the from 1st or 2nd century AD until 9th century AD. That's the Aksumite time, which is our focus. The third part is called post-Aksumite time, which is intermingled with, you know, the pre or the first parts of the Aksumite, the Zagwe time. So this post-Aksumite time is the fall of Aksumite Empire completely, but you know there is some tradition, some transition. So it depends according to some historiographers, as I said. But for our understanding, I just gave this time from 10th century AD until 12th century AD. So finally, for our understanding, there are 3 stages of Aksumite time, right? Pre-Aksumite time, Aksumite time, and post-Aksumite time in brief. When we come to the Aksumite era, Aksumite Empire was superpower and known in its regional integrity. That's very famous. It controlled important ancient trade routes and engaging in expansion activities in the region. So that's really very, very important. So it's also very famous that Aksumite Empire controlled all ancient trade routes. That's really very important. That's very important in the region. The kingdom of Aksum never fell into the hands of Byzantine and Roman expansions, as the case was of that time, and nor to any tribal demonstrations. So the Aksumite Empire remains mighty. Traditional borders of Ethiopia during Ezana's time was extended from Red Sea in the northeast direction to the Indian Ocean into south. Then in the east from Nubian Desert in the north to the southern tip of the Arabian Peninsula, which is present Yemen. So you can imagine that how the Aksumite Empire covers a very long or very vast boundaries. I mentioned Ezana's time because, you know, the golden age of Aksumite time was during the time of Ezana. So we can say that we can take Ezana's time as a very golden age. So it is, you know, it just covers long parts of the world even, right? So extending from the Red Sea in the north direction to the Indian Ocean into south, so covers many lands, right? And in the east from Nubian Desert, right? In the north to the southern tip of Arabian Peninsula, is the Yemen, present Yemen. So it all covers during the Aksumite time. So this is very important. In the following few pages of the slide, we summarize peculiar features of Aksumite civilization, which Ethiopia's religious, social, economical, military, and technological advancements were at its climax stage. So I will discuss a few points on that. I will begin with the religion. The first one is religion. Can you hear me? Can you hear me? Let me know. Are you following?
Yes. Yes, we do. Yes, we do.
Very much.
It's
Thank
clear.
you. Am I too fast or just okay?
You are just okay.
Okay. Okay. Thank you very much. Why I just a bit because we have lots of portions to cover today. That's why I'm doing that, to be in time bounded. Okay. When we come to the religion, you know, religion is one aspect of to be mentioned in relation with Aksumite Empire. As mentioned in the previous classes, last week and before even last week, Christian faith was introduced to the land of Ethiopia during 34 AD, the first century we know, by the eunuch of Queen Candace, right? That's very famous tradition we discussed last time. Christian faith became official religion of Ethiopia, not in the first century, not in the second century, but in the fourth century during the time of Ezana at 330 AD. As the result of Abba Salama or Frumentius, right? We will see in the detail in the next of this lesson. As a rule, all Aksumite kings, all kings after Ezana were Christians, and they attended. It's attested in their inscriptions and coins. Why I mention again Ezana here? Because of his historical importance. As you all know, it is during the time of Ezana that Christianity became official religion or state religion of Ethiopia in the 4th century. So before Ezana, Christianity was there in Ethiopia, of course, but it was not, you know, at the level of a state religion because of, you know, the lack of the organized missionary activities. So thanks to Abba Salama Frumentius, and by the will of God, you know, during the 330 or in the beginning of the 4th century AD, so Christianity became official religion of Ethiopia. In this case, by the way, in this case, Ethiopian state is considered as the second state religion or the second state in the world to make Christianity as official religion or state religion next to Armenia, okay? Even before Roman Empire, So that's really very important. So that's really great, and it's really very important to mention this. So Ethiopia is very famous and very unique in Christianity. As a rule, all kings after Ezana were Christians. Why Ezana? As I said, Ezana, in his first part of his life, especially at the childhood, he remained as pagan. He was not converted. He was not baptized. So even, Ezana, he has, it's already attested in Ezana's time. I will discuss it later. In his inscriptions, we have two kinds of inscriptions. In his coins, we have two kinds of coins. Why? Pagan inscriptions of Ezana and Christian inscriptions of Ezana are attested already. So Ezana had two lives, right? The first life, the primary life, or the first life of Ezana was he lived as a pagan, but after Christianity was a state religion, before that, he was baptized by Frumentius Abbas Lama, and he became converted with his brother Abraham as well. I will discuss that later. So finally, after Ezana, no one was from Aksumite Empire, from Aksumite time. No one was from Christian. No one was non-Christian. No non-Christian king of Aksumite Empire. Okay, so here it is. I think it is mentioned it is worth to mention that, the Muslims, they claim that the conversion of the first king to be converted to Islam. Remember? So that was Nugus Armagh, or King Armagh. So never in history, we don't have any evidence to be converted to Islam. Of course, it's written even by their Islamic, resources, that king was kind and he welcomed the Sahabas of Islam, the Sahabas of Prophet Muhammad, because of their problem with Quraysh people in Saudi Arabia. So this king, Christian king, was a very famous king and a very welcoming king. See, he welcomed all strangers, not because they are not recognizing their Islam state, no, but he recognized because they are strangers. They suffered persecution in their own country, so he welcomed them because of his Christian attitude, because of his Christian activities. So never ever he was converted to Muslim, never. But I think even it's not even mentioned by Muhammad himself or by Muhammad's followers, that the conversion of Ethiopian king into Islam, not mentioned, not at all. But recently Muslims they converted, they just try to propagate their own allegation, but it's not attested. So that's why I carefully write this sentence. As a rule, all kings after Ezana were Christians and attested in their inscriptions and the coins. There is no non-Muslim or no non-Christian from the Aksumite king. So this is attested. There was a fertile ground for Abbas Salama to evangelize the people and build churches all over Ethiopia, because after conversion of Abbas Salama, after conversion of Ezana and Saizana, after conversion of after the Christianity became a state religion during the Aksumite time, so it was really ground fertile to Abbas Salama as initial, and later for his successors to be successfully evangelize Ethiopian people all over the country. That's very important. So Aksumite time was really very great as far as religion is concerned. Bible translation into Ge'ez and administering all church sacraments were began by Abbas Salama from Menches during Ezana's time. So this time, religion was one of the important features of Aksumite time to be mentioned. The second very important thing to be mentioned about in relation with Aksumite time was obelisks, right? Obelisks. So I mentioned these obelisks. As you can see, there are these obelisks. Aksumite obelisks are very famous, very popular, and one of the great wonders of the world, by the way. So there are lots of obelisks we mentioned. So there are several obelisks found in Aksum, erected during Aksumite time for different purposes. One clear fact, what these obelisks, especially the three largest obelisks of Aksum, show the level of architectural designs and how technology was advanced. So that's really very important. Let me ask you, can you see this obelisk? One of the very famous erected one and one of the greatest Aksumite obelisks. I think this picture depicts, it's not included by the Aksumite reinstituted obelisk is not here in this picture because this picture was before the reinstitution of the greatest obelisk returned from Italy, right? We know that Italy restored the looted obelisk of Aksum, I think restored in 2004, in 2005, and finally we have it right now there. But this time, as you can see, even from this obelisk, different levels. Can you see? This shows a very advanced architectural design of so it shows different stories of a very huge building, just like that, and it also shows that different gates of the gates, building, windows, and different architectures are there, but very wonderfully engraved, from bottom to top. It's the shape for a very articulated and very well designed one. As you can see at the top, the very top of the Aksumite obelisk, it is a sign of circumcision, by the way. It's just the male genital part, which is a sign of circumcision. So it has many things. It tells us many things, right? It tells many things. How? Because circumcision was already, or Judaism was already practiced in Ethiopia. That's the case. At the same time, it is one of the best of its own arcs, and right. So it has really, it shows many things. Not only this obelisk as a tower or as a building, but there are also in underground. We see what? Elaborated architecture and building, including multi-story structures, monumental stone stele, and multi-chamber tombs. So there are tombs of the royal families and so there are lots of tombs out there. So Aksumite obelisks are very famous. So these are the results of Aksumite Empire as the second point. The third point are inscriptions. Inscriptions are what are inscriptions? Okay. So these inscriptions, there are hundreds of inscriptions written on stone and found at Aksum on various subjects like social, religious, and military achievements of the Aksumite time and even before. They are written in Ge'ez, Sabek, and Greek languages. So they are written in Ge'ez, written in Sabek, and Greek. So trilingual inscriptions are there. These inscriptions are archaeologically discovered in Aksum, okay, discovered at Aksum, Adulis, Yeha, Dekemahari, Kaskase, Tekonda, Yemeni, and many others, the present Eritrea, the present Yemen, the present South Arabia, not Saudi Arabia, no, but Southern Arabia, that is the Yemen in this environs, and also the southern part of Ethiopia. So there are lots of locations for the inscriptions. Ezana's inscriptions are of two kinds. By the way, among the Aksumite kings, Ezana is the very famous one. So we mention his name on different aspects due to his unique importance. So Ezana's inscriptions are of two kinds. As I said, he has two lives. The first part of his life was pagan. So we see that pagan inscriptions were there. After his conversion to Christianity, we see the inscriptions of Ezana as Christian. They mention when he converted to Christianity, they mention the name of እግዚአብሔር Ab, Word Manfas ቅዱስ, the name of እግዚአ Samai Wamidr, okay? But before he was converted to Christianity, when Ezana was pagan, he mentioned the name of his pagan deities like Maharam, Bahar, Midr, and others, right? So that's really very important. And also, two kinds of Ezana's inscriptions, vocalized ones and unvocalized ones. What do you mean by vocalized and unvocalized? I will discuss it later. Vocalized means the one which will with vowels, written in vowels. The one unvocalized means written without vowels. So as you can see, this is one of the great trilingual inscriptions of Ezana, right? Trilingual means written in 3 languages. This one is Ge'ez, the other part, this one is Greek, and the other part is in Sabic. So Ge'ez, Sabian, and Greek inscriptions found at Aksum, located in Ezana Park in Aksum. So you can visit whenever you have the chance to visit Aksum. There are some inscriptions I just included here. Ge'ez Sabian inscriptions. So can you read? Let me. Okay, these are the Ge'ez Sabian inscriptions found in Afse Church, Afse. Okay, near Aksum, and these ones are the Ge'ez Sabian inscriptions at Yaha. Yaha, you know Yaha, at Adwa, near to just how many kilometers? I think not very far. I think some 34 kilometers from Aksum. So that's Yaha. That's a very famous city, by the way, the ancient city, the city of archaeology. And in that archaeological site, we found these inscriptions are just found, written in Ge'ez and vocalized Ge'ez in Sabic letters. For example, let me try to read to you from one of these here. Okay. Ge'ez was, by the way, written from left to right, sometimes from right to left, left to right, right? No, it was a kind of strophe, and I will discuss it later. So, in this case, this is Ma, and this is Ha. Wa, A, Za. The Ma. This is Ma, inverted Ma. Wa, Ra. Ya, Sa. When we come to this, the same, okay? It begins from right to left, then left to right. One very important thing, right? If you have two lines, it is obviously possible to notice that they begin from right to left. When they finish, they just immediately will go from here to there. So Ge'ez was written this way, like just in that time Sabic was the same pattern. But we'll see Abba Salama changed this order. I will discuss later. Okay, so when we come to this is also one of the reasons. The same, right? So these are the Ge'ez Sabic inscriptions. Extensive archaeological discovery was done at Aksum in 1906-1907 by the German scholars, chaired or led by Professor Enno Littmann, and they published their findings in 4 volumes under the title Eotc Aksum Expedition. In 4 volumes. So this is very famous, and as far as Aksumite history is concerned, this work is really very important. So thanks to the German group of this team. Eotc Aksum Expedition, meaning German Aksum Expedition. Written in German and Ge'ez, right? German Ge'ez. So 4 volumes, very huge book. So that's really very famous. So I discussed the overview of the Aksumite inscriptions in my book Naka Matsaf, so you can read from page 9 to 13. So I reviewed the summary, I gave the summary part of my book, I made them, so you can read the first chapter of that. So Neka Matsaft, page 9 to 13. Another fourth importance, or another fourth discovery or unique peculiarity of Aksumite time was currency. The Aksumite currency. As economy was strong during Aksumite time, the currency was also strong. That's very famous. Aksumite kings used different coins to exchange commerce. Ethiopia is one of the earliest civilizations to use coins. King Indubis is the first Ethiopian king to introduce coins during the Aksumite time. Okay? So that's really very important, very famous, very important. The language of coins is, of course, also Greek. Like the inscriptions, Aksumite coins have two features. What kind of features we can say about Aksumite coins? Pagan coins, Christian coins. Why pagan? Because we see some of the pagan features there. And why Christians? The same. Here I bring some of these are the common ones. And this one is the pagan coin with crescent. Can you see here? Can you see? This is a crescent, right? This shows that Ezana before his conversion to Christianity. በጨረቃ የሚያምን መሆኑን ለመግለጽ የጨረቃ ምስል ያስቀምጥ ነበር የስሙ በአለ ሌላው that's very important Aksumite kingdom was very famous እዚህ ጋር ታያላችሁ ይሄ ምንድነው አዝመራ የዊት ወይም ደግሞ የስንዴ ምስል ነው በጣም ለምለም ነበር በኋላ ገልጽላችኋለሁ so Aksumite was really very important so the king of what do you call the kind of the king in the tail and the head of the coin with the name plus with the face but when he was converted Ezana he just changed everything he was drastically changed what can you see here what is there cross and you can see his name Negus and his name is at the back and he officially cross with what the name of Christ Jesus okay Jesus so that's really very important that's very very important so this is Christian coins with Christ with cross and the name of Jesus and this one is a pagan inscription coin so these are coins by the way አሁንም ድረስ በአለማችን ኮይን የሌላቸው ሰዎች አላላቸው ግን ኢትዮጵያ በዛ ጊዜ ነበራት this was really huge that's very important I think the last point which I would like to mention very unique feature of the Aksumite kingdom was economy and technology that's very important so it gives you an idea Aksumite civilization possessed sophisticated technologies and craft specializations, including metalwork, diversified ceramics, lithic tool traditions, ivory carving, right? Woodwork industries. All these sort of things were very famous in Aksumite time. So you can imagine how Aksumite kingdom or Aksumite empire was really, really great, advanced with technology and economy. A complex agricultural system included irrigation and dam construction. Even dam construction was there that time during Aksumite time. Terracing and plowing produced food that sustained urban and rural Aksumite populations. That's really very famous. Cereal crops of both African and Near East origin were cultivated by Aksumite farmers, such as teff, millet, sorghum, wheat, barley, oat, cotton, grape, and etc. Thus, Aksumite empire was strong in economy and might in power. So we can see that really Aksumite time was really very, very historical and very important part of Ethiopia. Oh, okay. One more great contribution or peculiar feature of Aksumite time was literacy. The 6th point, literacy. Aksumite time was also known for its contribution for the literary advancement of the country. Ge'ez, which was the lingua franca of the time, developed its vowels by Abba Salama during the time of Ezana, which facilitates translation of the Bible into Ge'ez. As a result, manuscripts were produced, and the oldest existing Ge'ez manuscript of Ndaba Garima at Tigray is the product of this time, dated in the 5th century. So, why I added this literacy? Because that was the peculiar unique of Aksumite time. As we see, right, inscriptions were there already since even before Aksumite time. Coinage was there. Even not only inscriptions, also coins, but also manuscript production was produced here. So that, translation of the Bible was Aksumite time, okay? And also original writing of the Aksumite time was there. So you can imagine, for example, Saint Yared was from during the Aksumite time. So you can imagine how Ethiopia was really important and advanced in all kinds of things. When we see, when we just consider, for example, Saint Yared, he invented many things, including the Zema, right? So even we can add even Zema and other things. But I think you can add your own, but these are the very famous and very popular things.
Is that
yes,
John, the Gospel of John? It says, I can read some of them. It says,
sure.
In the literature, in the picture, it says,
yes.
It's hard to read, but it says,
yes, I appreciate your eyes. But obviously, yes, obviously.
Yeah, it
by
says,
the way, that's good. In which line? The second or the first column?
In the last, try to find 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
Fifth line? From the top or the bottom?
Yeah, from the bottom. From bottom up, just try the 6th line, the 6th line. From bottom up.
Okay.
كما زوهب كني
Yes, you are right. Absolutely. Yes. Yes, exactly. You are right. Yeah, first column said 6th line from the bottom. Thank you very much, Kasisa.
Yeah.
Yes. So, as a matter of fact, Abba Salama Gospel or Gospel of Garima are the 4 Gospels, all right? No Acts of the Apostles, no Pauline Apostles, no Old Testament, but just the 4 Gospels are the only found. So, yes, Gospel of Matthew, Gospel of Luke, Gospel of John, and Gospel of Mark is there. So, and plus also the table of constitution as well, by the way. የቀኖና እንትኖችም አሉት በተጨማሪ ከዚህ ከአራቱ ወንጌላውያን በተጨማሪ የቀኖና ቴብል አለው ካኖን ቴብል የሚባል አለ so these 4 gospels plus that canon table are only existed so far. Thank you very much. So this is from the Aksumite time, okay? So I think it is worth to mention at least this. Even you can add, as I said, you can add lots of things as well. Okay. The popular Aksumite kings. Popular Aksumite kings are very many, but just I will mention only few. Famous kings of Aksumite time who left important inscriptions are Ezana Saizana, Abra and Aswaha, Caleb and the king Wazeb. Wazeb is the son of Caleb. So they used the title King of Kings, by the way. In King of Kings, Nugusa Nagast in Giz, or Basilion ton Aksimiton in Greek. Basilios ton Aksimiton. Nugusa Aksum ilal Yanan Nugus. So these are the kings. Among us, those I will mention, my focus is only Ezana and Saizana. Ezana and Saizana. Ezana and Saizana or Abraham Datsbaha were popular kings of Aksum during 4th century AD. Ethiopian tradition claims both were twin brothers and children of King Al-Amida in Amharic. Al-Amida, okay? They succeeded their father and accessed to power circa 320s AD with the throne name Al-Abraha and Al-Asbaha. So Allah was the throne name. የንግስና ስማቸው ነበረ። በአሁኑ በቅርቡ ዘመናዊ ነገስታት ያሉት የፈረስ ስም ይባላላቸው የፈረስ ስም ነው ያላቸው። በዚያ ወቅት ዘመን ነገስታት ግን የመንበር ስም ነበራቸውና ያባታቸው አልአሜዳ ይባላል። አልአሜዳ የነሱ ስማቸው ለአጽብሃ ለአብርሃ or Lasbagu ይባላል። በኋላ I will mention that. Some sources say, okay, so okay, list of Ethiopian kings mention their name as Abraham and Asba. By the way, we in Ethiopian history we are really very useful sources which we must know that Ethiopian king list የሚባላል ታሪከ ነገስት ክብረ ነገስት የሚባሉን ባለፈው ተነጋግረናል። ታሪከ ነገስት የሚባል ደግሞ አለ። ከአዳም ይጀምራል አንዳንድ ጊዜ ከዳዊት ከሰሎሞን ይጀምራል። አንዳንድ ጊዜ ደግሞ ከንግስት አዜብ ይጀምራል ከቀዳማዊ ምኒልክ። ከዛ በኋላ የራሳቸውን ንጉስ ያለበት ዘመን ድረስ ይደመድማል። ምክንያቱም ዘሩን ከዚያ ማያያዝ ስላለበት ማለት ነው። ሶ አንዳንዶቹ መጀመሪያቸውን የሚፈልጉበት ላይ ጀምሩና ከዛ በኋላ ያገናኙታል። ሶ ሊስት ኦፍ ኢትዮጵያን ኪንግስ የሚባለው አንድ ንጉስ በነገስታቱ ሊስት ካልሆነና ዘሩ ከዛ ካልተቆጠረ አስቸጋሪ ነው። So all Ethiopian list kings I think start from Abraham Tzva and before, okay? Some sources say they reigned jointly for 27 years and 6 months. ለ27 ዓመት ከመንፈቅ በጋራ ነገሱ ይላል አንዳንድ ምንጮች ከዛ በኋላ በየብቻቸው ማለት ነው። And other Ethiopian sources say they ruled the country jointly for 65 years ሚልማል። So 65 years በጋራ ነው ነገሱ ይላሉ። Ethiopian geographical traditions mention they built many churches all over Ethiopia, including the first cathedral of Aksum Tseon. Western sources, on the other hand, mention only Ezana and kept silent on his brother Saizana. Okay? The royal letter of Constantius, known as Apologia ad Constantium, written circa in 351, addressed to the kings Ezana and Saizana, clearly mentions the brotherly kings by name. በነገራችን ላይ ትልቅ ማስረጃ ነው። ምዕራቡ ዓለም only Ezana እያለ ሳይዛናን ይተዋል ወይም አብርሃምን ብቻ ይጠቅስና አጽባን ይተዋል። ምክንያቱም ምዕራቦቹ የራሳቸው እንትናላቸው የራሳቸው ቴል አላቸው። ወራስ ግን ትልቁ ማስረጃ ለምዕራባውያኑ ሁሉ አፋቸውን የሚያዘጋው royal letter of Constantius የንጉስ ቆስጠንጢኖስ ልጁ ኮንስታንቲዩስ የሚባለው ኮንስታንቲዩስ ደብዳቤ ጽፏል። ለማን አድሬስ ያደረገው ለማን ነው? ለኢዛናና ለሳይዛና ለወንድማማቾቹ ነገስታት ብሎ ሉክ። ስለዚህ በዛ ወቅት ላይ የነገሰው ትልቁ የዓለም ገዢ የሚባለው ንጉስ የጻፈው ያውም በኋላ አይደለም በዛው በእነሱ ዘመን ዳይሬክትሊ አድሬስ አድርጎ የጻፈውላቸው ስላለ የሱ ደብዳቤ by the way ኮንቴንቱ ጠቃሚ አይደለም ለኛ የንጉስ ደብዳቤ I will mention that ኮንቴንቱ ጠቃሚ አይደለም ጠቃሚ ያልሆነበት ነግራችኋለሁ ርዕሱ ግን ይጠቅመናል ርዕሱ ይጠቅመናል ማለት ነው it mentions the king, the brotherly kings, the twin brotherly kings, Ezana and Saizana by name. ለምንድን ነው ኮንቴንቱ ምን መስለው የሚላቸው የዚህ ሰው የዚህ የኮንስታንቲዮስ የጻፈው ደብዳቤ አትናቴዎስ የሚባለው አባ ሰላማ የተሾመው ከአትናቴዎስ ነው። አትናቴዎስ ደግሞ መናፍቅ ነው በእኛ በኩል ያለው ማለት ነው። ምክንያቱም ይሄ ንጉስ አባቱ ቆስጠንጢኖስ ክርስቲያናዊ ነው እንደምታውቁት፣ ልጁ ግን አሪዮሳዊ ሆኗል። በጣም አለመታደል ሆነ። አሪዮሳውያን በነገራችን ላይ በቤተክርስቲያን ታሪክም እንደተማርነው the successor of Arius and semi-Arians የሚባሉትና ተከታዮቹ እየተስፋፉ ሄደዋል። ሶ የቆስጠንጢኖስ ልጁ ኮንስታንቲዮስ እሱን የነገሰው የተካው አሪዮሳዊ ሆነ። ስለዚህ አትናቴዎስን ያሳድደው ነበር የሚገርማችሁ። ስለዚህ የኛ ጳጳስ ፍሩሜንሺየስ ወራ አባ ሰላማ የተሾመው ከማን ነው? በኋላ እንደምናየው ከማን ነው የተሾመው? ከአቡነ አትናቴዎስ ነው አይደል? አትናቴዎስ ነው። ስለዚህ ይሄ ደብዳቤ ምን ይላል? ለወንድማማቾቹ ነገስታት ኢዛናና ሳይዛና በዘመናችሁ ካልጠፋ ጳጳስ ሄዶ ወደ አትናቴዎስ ዘንድ ሄዶ የተሾመው ንጉሳችሁ ማን ነው? የናንተ ጳጳስ አርጋችሁ የላካችሁት ልክ አይደለም። ስለዚህ እኔ ከፈቀድኩት ከአሪዮሳዊው ጳጳስ እንደገና ይሾም፣ አትናቴዎስን ይካድ የሚል ኮንቴንት ያለው ደብዳቤ ነው ያለው። ስለዚህ ለዛ ነው እንትኑ ለኛ እርግጥ የታሪክ ክፍል ስለሆነ ሁሌ እናስተምረዋለን፣ ነገር ግን እንድታውቁት ያስፈልጋል። አሪዮሳውያን ኃይላቸውን ይጠቀማሉ፣ ነገስታትን ይጠቀማሉ፣ የተለያዩ ወንጌል ይጠቀማሉ። እምነት ግን እምነት ናት። አሪዮስ በዚህ የተነሳ ቢወገዝም በጉባኤ ኒቂያ እንደምናቀው በተከታዮቹና በሱ ደጋፊዎች አማካኝነት አትናቴዎስን ሲያሳድረው ነው የኖረው በእድሜ ልኩ በሙሉ በጣም ብዙ አመት። የአትናቴዎስን ዘመን አይ ዶንት ኖ አይ ቲንክ ፓትሮሎጂ ላይ ተማሩታላችሁ ወይ በአንዱ ቦታ ላይ የአትናቴዎስ የተቀበለው መከራ በጣም ብዙ ነው። በማን ምክንያት? በእነዚህ በተረፈ አሪዮሳውያን ምክንያት ማለት ነው። እና ጦሱ ወደኛም ሀገር መጥቶ ወደ ኢትዮጵያ ወደ ኢትዮጵያም ወደ ኢዛና ወደ ሳይዛና ተልኮ ነበር። አሁን ኮንቴንቱ የኛ ነገስታት ቁምጨጭ አይሉም በዚህ ወይ ፍንክች ምንም። ግን ይሄ ደብዳቤ እንዳልኳችሁ ስማቸውን ሜንሽን ስላረገ እኛ የምራባውያን ሊስት አያስፈልግም፣ የምራባውያን ማረጋ ያስፈልግም ማረጋገጫ። ግን ታሪክ እንጽፋለን የሚሉ የዓለም ታሪክ ነው ነገር የሚሉና የኢዛና ንግስና ዲናይ ሊያረጉ የሚፈልጉ ቢኖሩ ግን እሾም በሾ ስለሆነ የራሳቸው ወገን ምራባዊው ንጉስ የነበረ በወቅቱ ንጉሰ ነገስት የነበረው ኮንስታንቲዮስ የጻፈውን ደብዳቤ ሄደው ይመልከቱና ኢዛናና ሳይዛና እኩል መንገሳቸው ማለት ይሄ በጣም ትልቅ ነገር። Okay, so among the Aksumite kings, Ezana is the mightiest one and famous. Christianity became the state religion during his time, did great for Aksumite civilization. So that's why. According to Ethiopian Orthodox Church tradition, both Abraha and Atzmaha are canonized saints. They are canonized by the way. Canonized. Ethiopian sources on Abraha and Atzmaha are rich, and the primary sources are Gerla Abraha Atzmaha, Metzaf Aksum, and Sinkisar Zetikim Tarat. So, I am proud to introduce you this book. The Gerla Abraha Atzmaha is translated from Ge'ez into Amharic by our father Lik Kanat Haile Selassie Alemayehu, who is church administrator of Denver, Medahanialam, as you all know, here in North America. He was my former immediate boss when I was secretary of the evangelical department of Ethiopian Church, and he was my boss, and he was the head of the evangelical section of the church. And he was the head of the Sunday school department in Ethiopian church, we all know. And he was the general manager of Addis Ababa diocese. In many he served the church in many capacities. And after he came to United States, I think he lived here more than 15 years or 20. So I think he was the former general manager of North American diocese. Now he is, I think, general manager of the, I don't know which state is it. He's, I think the bishop is Abuna Theophilus.
Colorado.
Yeah, Colorado. Exactly. Yeah, Colorado. He's general manager of the Colorado diocese, and he's a church administrator of Medahani Alam, where Qasis Dajane is there. So that is so he is really very, very, very dedicated scholar of Ethiopian church, and he himself. This is, by the way, the second edition of Gerla Brawasma. This is the extended one. I think he published, I think before 25 or 20 years, a very small book one, translated into Amharic. This is an extended one, and with some commentaries. And he told me last year, I think I met him in 2018 in Atlanta conference, for the church conference, and he graciously offered me his book, thanks to him. And he told me that he began translating this Gerla Abraha from Ge'ez, already in Amharic he did, and he's translating this Gerla into Tigrinya, because the Gerla Abraha are famous in the Abraha, in Ukro, and of course for the general Ethiopia, but I think it's good to translate it from Ge'ez to Tigrinya as well, so it's a good idea. So I hope he will finish that translation as well. So, this is the second edition in 2008. As you can see, there is a cross. Can you see this cross? This cross is a very famous cross, and it is written in Amharic here. Can you read, anyone? Can you read?
Abuna Salama, Ethiopia Hizb, Yatammakubat, Yabraha Wazbaha, York Maskal.
Thank you very much. You know, Abraha Watzba, Skilachona, Burakachi, Amitawakal. That's very important. So, this Gerla Abraha Watzba is one of the famous and very unique sources for the history of Abraha Watzba. Second, there is Matzaf Aksum. Matzaf Aksum Mibalo Baksum Muslim Liber Aksum Bemibal Mitawagno, የኢትዮጵያን ነገስታት ታሪክና የአክሱምን አመሰራረቷን የገበዛ አክሱምን ታሪክ ለአክሱም የሰጧትን የመሬት ግብዝና ስጦታዎች ሁሉ የሚዘረዝር ነው በጣሊያናዊው ሊቅ በኮንትሮሲኒ 1909 በላቲን እና በግዕዝ ታትሟል. That's very important. Another very unique and very extended source for Abraha Watzba is Sinksar dedicated for ጥቅምት 4. Okay, because ጥቅምት 4 is the what do you call it, the commemoration of the brotherly kings Abraha Watzba. Okay, I'm sorry, I'm running out of time. Shall I stop here or just continue? Let me know, Qasis.
Just finish your.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Father. Okay. By the way, Ethiopian history is really very fast. I would like to summarize the broad history of Ethiopian church within 1 hour. It's really, really very tough. Very tough. But you know, we must try to reconcile everything, time against reality. So I try my best, but due to the different important unique nature of the portion, I think we may use some extra hour. So I apologize for that. Okay, thank you for your time. Thank you very much. Now let's come back to the biography of Frumentius Abbas Salam, the second part. As we discussed in the previous class, Christian faith was introduced in the 1st century, and there are lots of evidences supporting this. But it was not flourished, and there was no organized missionary work in the country before 4th century. 4th century is the time of Frumentius. Hence, the time of Ezana and the efforts of Frumentius are remarkable as far as the expansion of the Christian faith is concerned in Ethiopia. In the following slides, we shall see the story and contributions of Abba Salama briefly. Frumentius or Fremenatos is not Ethiopian by birth. We all know, right? He was from where? From Tyre, whose language was Greek. Kiros ማለት ነው ታየ he came to Aksum together with his younger brother named Aedesius or Sidrakos. Both accompanied a known philosopher called Meropius, who has blood relation with this young man. So this Meropius was their relative. Meropius was interested to visit India and traveled through the route via East Africa, not East Africa, sorry, East Africa. To East African coast, and landed at Adulis. The local inhabitants were hostile to them, who were traveling, right? As they broke alliance with Roman Empire. So, hence they massacred all travelers, including Meropius, lucky guy, and miraculously spared with those two young men. This young man taken to the Aksumite king known as Alameda or Alameda, Tazir. They gained the acceptance of the king where he assigned them. Aedesius, cupbearer of the king. Frumentius was a treasurer and private secretary of the king. So, the king assigned them in a very, very, very popular position, they assume. The young men were taught Ge'ez and other Ethiopian culture at the royal school named at Bete Qattin, under the tutorship of Enveram. King Alameda died and left his throne to his wife named Queen Ahewa or Sophia, with her children called Ezana and Saizana, as you all know. The king before his days gave his words for those young men to return to their home if they wished. Queen Ahewa requested them to assist her in her administration. Then Frumentius remained in Aksum, but his younger brother Aedesius or Sidrakos went back home and ordained a priest. Then he met the renowned church historian Rufinus and told him everything about Ethiopia. So, you know, it is good side. It's really lucky because, you know, he met Rufinus, so that, you know, Rufinus was a great historian, so he became the first eyewitness to get about Ethiopian and Ethiopian history from eyewitness Aedesius. You got the point? So that was really good, like good time. So that's why the Ethiopian history was recorded by Rufinus and others due to this chance. Sorry. Frumentius took a special position at the royal court and tutored the young princess called Lazwag. Okay, እንትን ስማቸው የእላብርሃ እላጽባም ይባላሉ። ከነገሱ በኋላ ነው፣ ግን መጀመሪያ እላዝጓግ ይባላል። የሚለው just throne name ይባላል። እላዝጓግ named Ezana Abraha and Saizana Atzba about Christianity. So Frumentius taught them about Christianity. Then Ezana and Saizana accessed to power, and they assigned Frumentius in faith-related matters for the country. Ezana and Saizana sent Frumentius to go to Alexandria to report on faith. So please refer to Translation from my book. I think I discussed in my book, the other book on Translation, from page 184 to 187. It discusses it gives a detailed account how Abba Salama went to Egypt, then how he came and how he, you know, converted. Long discussion of Abba Salama with the people, you know, about the previous life of Ethiopians and the like. So at there. Then Frumentius sent to Alexandria and met with his new office, succeeding Alexander of Alexandria in June 328 AD, and returned being appointed as the first bishop of Ethiopia. As you all know, in 325, the Council of Nicaea, during the Council of Nicaea, by that time, Athanasius was not a patriarch. He was just a deacon. He was just secretary of the patriarch called. That time the patriarch was Alexander. በግዕዛችን ይባላል እለእስክንድሮስ ይባላል ማለት እለእስክንድሮስ ዘእስክንድርያ በእንግሊዝኛ Alexander of Alexandria ይባላል. So this time አባ ሰላማ ወደ ግብጽ እንደሄደ ቶሎ አልተመለሰም. ለምን? አባ አቡነ አትናቴዎስ ተሾሞ ወደ ግብጽ እስከሚመጣ ወደ ግብጽ እስክንድርያ መጥቶ ስራውን እስከሚጀምር ከዛ እነዚህ ነገሮች ለምን ጊዜ 1-3 ዓመት ፈጅቶ ነበር. ለዛ ነው ይሄን ታይም የጠቀስኩላችሁ. That's a very purposeful time. Okay, succeeding Alexander of Alexandria in June 328 AD, and finally willingly Saint Athanasius appointed Father Salama, Abba Salama from Menches, right, as the first bishop, and he returned appointed as the first bishop to Ethiopia. Hence, given the name Kasate Bran, Revealer of Light, and Abba Salama, okay, Father of Peace, as a people, by the way. Who gave this name, by the way, to Abba Salama? The Ethiopian people. By the Ethiopian people, okay? So that was a very unique contribution of him. He dedicated, Abba Salama dedicated his entire life for the church service and died in Ethiopia on Hamle 26. He is a canonized saint in Ethiopia and some other churches of the world. So let's see some of the major contributions of Abba Salama. First, evangelism and baptism. Father of Peace, Abba Salama, was dedicated to evangelize the people before baptism. Okay? Before baptizing someone, they need to be evangelized. Then, he baptized the royal families and the local people. He evangelized the royal city of Aksum and the regions of the empire. Also assigned others to preach the gospel. That's a very, very good and very important one. So, Frumentius is well known in his miraculous hand cross, as I said, which he used to bless the people and depart demonic, expel demonic spirits, okay? So Abba Salama Frumentius, he is peculiarly very famous for evangelism and baptism. That's the first one. The second one is his ordination and the church consecration. Abba Salama did appointed priests and deacons in the empire. That's a very good thing. Before him, before Abba Salama, no priest, no deacon. That's why one of the limitations to evangelize the people. Thanks to him, Abba Salama, so he makes this. So he also ordained Minas as his assistant. Later, he became his successor as the second bishop of Ethiopia. Frumentius consecrated many churches. The Aksumite Cathedral for the Ark of the Covenant, as stated in Drasana Zion, was built by Abraham and Asbah. Then consecrated by Frumentius, called Gavaz Aksum. Other church sacraments like baptism, ordination, Holy Communion, repentance, and others are also performed by Abba Salama and his successor. So this is one of his great contributions to Ethiopian church.
Father, yes. Before that, I have a question. Instead of like, I'm not sure, like instead of like appointed priestess, is that like suitable maybe to call ordained priestess? Maybe appointed is like maybe...
Yeah, ordained. Yeah, Ordained, yeah.
Yeah.
I think that's good. Thank you. It's a good idea. Ordained.
You mentioned already the word, that's why.
Yes, you are right. Thank you, Cassis. You are right. So, ordained. The third one, the third contribution of him, invented vowels to the Giz language. So this is his linguistic contribution. Okay. I think we can make it a linguistic contribution very simple. What he did, as far as the linguistic contribution of him is concerned, you know, he invented you know, vowels for Giz language. So Giz was a common language of the Aksumite time, before the time of Romantius, but it had no vowels, thus using only consonants like hal, ham, saren, and no vowels, hu to ho. For example, azana, walada, ala, amada, nagasa, akasama. That's it, just only. But this was not, it was not easy to use the language, okay? Yeah, it was not easy to use the language as it is. I mean, so finally, thanks to Abba Salama, Frumentius invented vowels to Giz and able to introduce from Ka'ab to Sab. Okay, Ka'ab to Sab. The above example can be written, right? Azana, walada, ala amida, minuna, izana, walda, ala amida. Nagasa akasama will be what? Nugusa aksum. Ezana, son of Alameda, king of Aksum. So this is very advancement of Giz. So thanks to his linguistic contributions.
The coins here, maybe the coins were saying also like Azana Nagasa Akasama.
Exactly. That means, that shows that those coins were before the coming of Frumentius or before the invention. But after that, after 340 or so, you know, Giz was, you know, vocalized. That's why vocalized one. Because I'm a bit unvocalized. Furthermore, Frumentius made a rule to Giz to be strictly written from left to right, which before him was Bistrophodon, Oxplom, written in both ways, right? The way Fendersha, Kagra or the King, Kakin with the Gra, Kagra or the King, Kakin with the Gra, never Misafo. But Abba Salama make a strict rule for Giz. Okay? So that was his revision. This one, I think the last one, yes. Bible translation. One of outstanding contributions of Frumentius is his translation of the Bible into Giz. That's really wonderful. As known in Ethiopian tradition, partial Old Testament books from the Pentateuch to Solomon were already translated before, right? Since the time of Menelik first. But the entire Bible was able to be translated during the time of Frumentius. Okay? So translated during the time of Frumentius. Inventing vowels to the language and training his assistants helped Abba Salama to be successful in this huge project. Okay? So inventing vowels to the language or his linguistic contribution, you know, it facilitates the way. And he also he gave training for his assistants, by the way, because this Bible translation is not just a one-man project. It's really difficult. So he must have assistants. So he trained his assistants. So those helped Abba Salama to be successful in this huge project. As we shall see in the next lesson, Bible translation is also continued by the 9 centers, and with not only Bible but also with some other additional books translated from Greek to Ethiopia. I have also discussed about Bible translation and how it took, in Naka Matzaf. So anyway, Naka Matzaf, the first 1, 2, 3 chapters, I think are very crucial for this kind of knowledge if you'd like to read. And thank you very much. Thank you indeed. I'm done.
ጥያቄ መጠየቅ ይቻላል?
በጣም ነው የሚቻለው። የሰዓታችሁን ብቻ እንትን በሉ። አሜን።
I think nowadays, like, we are using almost 2 hours for pathrology as well. Yeah, I think it's better to get more knowledge instead of like
to be time sensitive. Yeah, it's good. It's good, time. It's give much time for the class. Okay, normally speaking or theoretically speaking 1 hour, but practically speaking in 2 hours. I think it's wise. እኛንን እንደከመው ያው በርግጥ እናንተም ጊዜያችሁ ነው። ስለዚህ I think it's good for you. Thank you, Cassis, for your answer. Okay, I think we can accept the questions, Q&A, right?
Yes.
Go ahead, please. Your name and your question, please.